welcome to the International Space Station. I am ready. Giacomo, we're doing actually several studies just during the time I've been on the International Space Station regarding plants. We did a plant habitat study where we're studying how the immune system of the plants, because it'll be important if we want to cultivate plants in space long-term or on other planets that they can resist diseases. We've also studied how to water those plants in a autonomous way and get them aerated and get them the nutrients in the plant water management study. So we've done several studies that will help us in the future. Sophia, we actually have several experiments mounted on the outside of the space station, looking back on Earth on the outside of the JEM, Japanese Experiment Module, that look at, different things, the ozone, aerosols, the carbon levels, dust in the particles in the air. And so because the space station has been up here for decades now and passes over these same regions and can get a long-term view, that can then inform decisions made how to counter climate change. Over. Luna, that's a good question. I think that remains to be seen, but I do know when we're talking about, right now we have a lot of automated systems and autonomous systems that help us, but in terms of artificial intelligence, I think when we start talking about going places like Mars where we can't just reach back to ground or we have an entire team of people to help us, artificial intelligence might help to fill that gap. Over. Sure, the Prometeo project was just performed recently by the Axiom 3 crew members who were up here. It was a study the Italian Space Agency came up with, and there are certain diseases, basically, such as Parkinson's disease, where oxidative stress causes impairment to the cognitive and behavioral functions. And so this study was looking at how antioxidant nanoparticles could maybe protect the neurons and prevent that degradation of cognitive and behavioral functions. Over. I think there are several things. First off, I think, reuse and recycling are extremely important. As we go further, we're not just going to be able to easily ship supplies, so that's something that's incredibly important. Figuring out radiation, as we go further in the solar system, how do we protect humans from the effects of radiation? And then also just looking at psychological welfare and how do we handle that stress of being away from our home planet for such long periods of time and from everyone we know and love. Over. Yeah, you're right. We're carrying out several studies. It's lots of human research experiments in general on cardiovascular and other systems, to understand how things like the weightless environment impact. A lot of things up here in the space environment stimulate rapid aging, especially to our vascular system and our arteries, and that can then be applied to help us, go further and do longer duration missions further out in space, and also to help us back on Earth. Over. I think a lot of the things we do are the same as you would do on home, back on Earth. Things like trying to prevent contact, wearing masks, dependent on how that specific virus spreads, cleaning surfaces, hygiene, cleaning hands to try and prevent that spread. Up here, one of the biggest things and most important things we do is try to prevent viruses from coming up here in the first place by quarantining before we come to space. Over. Flavio, it turns out all my crewmates and I have agreed that time seems to actually go by really fast up here, and there was just recently a study that showed this as well, that at least the perception for astronauts is that time moves faster in these long-duration missions. Over. First off, we try to prevent those losses by counteractive measures. We exercise 2.5 hours a day. It turns out by loading our bodies with weights and working out, we actually have been able to stop the loss of bone density. However, the structure of the bone we found still changes, and so that's something we're still working to understand and see if we can figure out how to keep the structure as strong. Over. Laura, there are, just in general, you need to be physically fit to do this job. Probably one of the hardest things we do physically is doing spacewalks, and so there's actually no, at least at NASA, no pass-fail physical fitness test we have to take, but we do an assessment every year, things like push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, grip strength, flexibility, every year to assess how we're doing, and it's on us to make sure we're physically fit to do the job we need to do. Over. Michaela, first we make sure everyone knows about the fire, and we all gather together in a location where we have access to our vehicles. In a worst-case situation, if the fire is bad enough and we need to leave space station, we want to make sure the fire is not between us and our spacecraft so we can leave. And then we work to fight the fire. If we know where it is, that's a lot easier. Sometimes it's more difficult behind a rack or something, and we have to find the fire first and then fight it. Over. India Kilo Zero, Uniform Sierra Oscar. This is Oscar Romeo 4, India Sierra Sierra. I think I may have lost you. How do you read? Over. Okay, and I think I caught you coming over there. Yes, I'm also hoping it never happens. First off, we have a lot of redundant systems for carbon dioxide disposal. We actually, just in recent years have started using new machines for carbon dioxide.